Alright, today we're going to find slope using a formula. Yesterday we did it using a graph. We had 2 points on a graph. We did rise over run. Today we're going to use it using a formula. Same thing. You're given 2 points. We're going to call them x1, y1, and x2, y2, and you use this formula. Slope we identify using the letter m. M, the variable, always will represent slope. And here's the formula. You find the change in the y's, so you do y2 minus y1 over the change in the x's, which is x2 minus x1. It's a formula you want to become very familiar with because we're going to use it a lot. We will use this quite a bit. So this is a formula you want to know. This one you want to make sure you have written down and you refer to often. So let's practice. So the first 2 points we're given are 2, 3, and 9, 7. This one's x1, y1 is the first point we're given, and this one's x2, y2 because it's the second point we're given. So to find slope, we'll use that formula. y2 is 7, minus y1 is 3, over x2 is 9, minus x1 is 2. And then you just subtract. 7 minus 3 is 4, 9 minus 2 is 5. So the slope of this line is 4 over 5. It tells me that I have a rise of 4 and a run of 5. So I've got to go up 4 over 5 to make this graph. Also means I have a positive slope, so my line is increasing from left to right. Next one. I have negative 3 1/2, negative 4, and then 5 1/4 and negative 1. I know there's fractions here, but these fractions make nice pretty little decimals, and we're going to convert to make this easier to calculate. So y2 is negative 1 minus y1 is negative 4 over x2 is 5 1/4 minus x1 is negative 3 1/2. And if you'll remember integer rules, when we have minus and negative, we do this leave, change, change. We'll do it on the top and the bottom. You just follow those steps now. So you end up really with negative 1 plus 4, which is 3. And then 5.25 plus 3.5 is 8.75. There's nothing wrong with this slope as it is written, although it's not very nice to look at because you have a rise of 3 and then a run of 8.75, so you've got to go over 8 and then 3/4 of 1. Sometimes that's hard to do. You can leave it like this, or you can pull out your handy dandy calculator and you can do 3 divided by 8.75 and get this long icky looking decimal. This doesn't really help you with anything, but you can convert it to a fraction, and here's how. You press math. The first option is fraction, and you hit enter, and it's going to convert our answer to a fraction, which is 12 over 35. So we can also say that this is 12 over 35. Both of these answers will work. Both of these answers are correct. It doesn't matter which one you give me. This one is just as good as this one. This one's just a little easier to look at if you're trying to actually put the graph on paper and look at what it looks like. Okay, we're going to come back to this one, so come down here. So I have these 2 points. I have negative 5, 4, and then negative 5, negative 1. You should notice, at least I hope you do, that the x values are the same. Since I have x values that are the same, hopefully you understand that that means that we don't have a function because x values are repeating. We're still going to find the slope though, because even if it's not a function, it has a slope. So y2 is negative 1, y1 is 4, x2 is negative 5, x1 is also negative 5. So let's do leave, change, change here on the bottom. So we end up with m equals negative 5 over 0. And if you'll remember from yesterday, we can't divide by 0. So this means I have undefined slope. Undefined slope means I have a vertical line. And if you'll remember, vertical lines cannot be functions because x values repeat everywhere. That's why we use it to test if something is a function. So this makes a vertical line because it has undefined slope. Next one. Negative 4.2, 5.8, and then 0, 0. So let's use our formula. 0 minus 5.8 over 0 minus negative 4.2. Leave change, change. So I have negative 5.8 over 4.2. Again, like the one above it, there's nothing wrong with this answer, but you can grab your calculator and you can do negative 5.8 divided by 4.2 and get the yucky fraction, yucky decimal that it comes out to, and then convert to a fraction by doing math, fraction, and having it convert for you. So this one comes out to negative 29 over 21. Both answers are right. Doesn't matter which one you give me. Just understand they're equivalent, and if you don't want the yucky decimals and try to figure out how to graph that, convert it to the fraction and get the whole numbers. So let's go to the next one. This one gives me 3 points and asks me to find the slope of the line. Pick any 2 points and use the formula. It doesn't matter which 2 points, just as long as you're using a whole point. So I could use this point and this point, or this one and this one. You get the idea. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to use the first 2 I see, so I'm going to ignore this one for a minute. So that means y2 is negative 2, y1 is 8, x1 is negative 6, and x2 is negative 6 and x1 is negative 10. So my slope for this line is negative 10 over negative 16. These two negatives cancel each other out, and then 10 over 16 reduces to 5 over 8. So the slope of my line is positive 5 over 8. One more. 3 minus 3 over 8 minus negative 2. Leave change, change. 3 minus 3 is 0, and then 8 plus 2 is 10. Well, if you'll remember, 0 minus divided by 10 is 0, and if I have a slope of 0, that means I have a horizontal line. You have no rise, but you have lots of run, so it's going side to side all over the place, but it's not going up or down at all, so you have a horizontal line. Okay, next one. You have 2 problems. So I'm going to find the slope from a graph and then from a table. Now, we did this yesterday using the graphs. The first thing you did was find 2 perfect points. So here are my 2 perfect points. Here and here. You can do like we did yesterday and do the rise over the run. Make sure you're paying attention to the scale on your graph, though. Each one of these little spaces is 1, and the big bold lines are 2. So I went down 1, 2 here, and then I went over 1, 2, 3. So my slope is negative 2 over 3. You can also use the formula. This point right here is 0, 3, and this point right here is 3, 1. When you're using the formula and you're going from a graph and you have the points, the left point is always your x1, y1, and the point to the right is always your x2, y2. We'll go left to right, so like you know, that's how we read a graph. So I have 1 minus 3 over 3 minus 0. Well, that gives me negative 2/3. Slope is the same. It should be, because it's the same line. It's just 2 different ways to find it. If you want to use the rise over the run, go for it. It'll get you the right answer. You can also use the formula. That will get you to the right answer too. Just depends on how you feel, what you want to do, what you like best. Next one, we're going to find the slope from a table. Tables are awesome because they give you the points already in the table. Here's a point, here's a point, here's another one, and here's another one. It's just like this problem, where you can pick any 2 points that you want. I'm going to use this one and this one. They're the first 2 I see. This one's my x1, y1. This one's my x2. My x2, y2. So you subtract, just like before. 5 minus 1 over 2 minus 0 gives me 4 over 2, which reduces to 2. So the slope of this line is 2. Okay, now we have a graph that shows how much water is in a reservoir at different times. We're going to find the slope and then talk about what it means. Let's just do this using the rise over the run. So they've given us the graph. They've given us the graph, and we can just calculate the rise over the run. This goes down 500 and 1,000. Make sure you're paying attention to your scale. And then it goes across 20, 40, 60, 10, 20, 30, 40. It goes over 40. Well, let's reduce that by getting rid of zeros. And I have negative 100 over 4, which gives me negative 25 over 1. What this means is I lose 25 cubic feet of water every hour. I'm losing because it's negative. The y-axis is cubic feet, so that's the negative 25, and the x-axis is hours, which is the 1, and so that's where I got the lose, negative 25 cubic feet every hour. Okay, I can use the slope formula also to find a missing value. It's the same formula we did on the very first slide, except now I'm going to solve an equation. So my slope is negative 1/3, and it's going to equal y2 is 3, y1 is r, and then x1 is 6, and y1 is 9. So I'm going to simplify this so I can solve this and find out what r is. This stays 3 minus r, but 6 minus 9 is negative 3. Now this looks like a proportion that I can solve, so I'm going to cross multiply. Negative 1 times negative 3 gives me positive 3. And then when I cross multiply this way, I've got to multiply 3 times all of this. So I have 3 times 3 minus r. So I'm going to solve this. So I have 3 equals 9 minus 3r. And I'm going to solve this just like I would solve an equation. I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides, which gives me negative 6 equals negative 3r. And then I'm going to divide both sides by negative 3. I'm going to get that r equals 2. That means this value is 2.